X squared, the X, and the constant equal to 0. We can factor this and then set the factors equal to 0 to solve. Remember, you're going to have two answers because the exponent is 2. So I'll just try some things because it's just how I roll. So 4 and 3 can give me 12, but can I get 4 and 6 can't give me 5. So I'll erase that and try maybe 3 and 4, which is 8 and 3 can give me 5, right? 8 minus 3 can give me 5. So the negative would be here. Positive would be here. Small refresher. 3x minus 8x. Two x squared. Check there. Minus 12. Check there. Okay. So now I can set these factors equal to 0. And yeah, my answers. 2x equals -3. X equals -3/2. One of the answers for x. And x equals 4. So if I were to plug in, let's say if I plug in x equals 4, let's see if this thing works. 2 times 4 in place of the x squared minus 5 times 4 in place of the x equals 12, or does it? 4 squared is 16 times 2 minus 20 equals 12. I don't know. 2 times 16, 32 minus 20 equals 12. Yep. And that'll be the same thing for -3/2, but I'm not going to put that in there. Okay, let's try another one. If it's already factored for you, which someone might give it to you like this, I wouldn't, but could be an easy one on the test, never know. And you just set each of your factors equal to 0. And x plus 6 equals 0. Then usually you'll have to spend the work and factor it yourself. That's more realistic anyway. Three x squared minus 21x equals 0. I don't always have to factor with the cross-eyed chubby kid. In this instance, I have an x here, 2 of them, and an x here. Also 3 and goes into 21. So I can factor out a 3x, leaves me with x minus 7 equals 0. And I can set both of my factors equal to 0. Three, x equals 0, and because remember I'll have two answers because my exponent is a 2. And x equals 7. X squared minus 13x plus 36 equals 0. This is in our factoring way. So I'll try to factor it. Leading coefficient is a 1, so it's pretty easy to factor. The last sign is positive, which means I will have two of the same signs, not necessarily negative, not necessarily positive, but the signs will be the same. And then you look at the first sign to see what same sign will I be looking for. I'm looking for a same sign that's negative. Two numbers multiplied together to give me 36 and add up to give me 13. The 36, I can do 6 times 6. 9 times 4. 2 times 18. 3 times 12. 36 times 1. Now, which of these are going to add up to give me 13? This one. So 9 and 4. And I'll set each of my factors equal to 0. Boom, shakalaka. Two x squared plus x squared equals 15. Wait a minute, that's not what it says. 2x plus x squared. So you just have to move it around a little bit to make it look like something that's normal for you. X squared plus 2x. Bring the 15 over, because remember it has to equal 0 for that thing to work. The 0 product rule to work. I can factor. Last sign is negative, so I will have two different signs. I need the larger one to be positive, and for me to end up with a positive 2. So the difference of these numbers have to be 2. For 15, I have 15 times 1 and 3 times 5. This one has a difference of 2, but I need the 5 to be by the positive. Because that'll make my middles work out to what I need it to be. Now I'll set my factors equal to 0. Minus 3 equals 0. And this is a good time to check that if you had different signs in the factors, then you'll have different signs in the answers. That's a little check to make sure that you know you did it properly. X times X minus 4 equals 12. I still need it to be equal 0 on one side. So I'm going to multiply this out. X times minus 4 is minus 4x. Then I'm going to take the 12 to the other side. And equal 0. This should be a review in factoring. We should be pretty nice in factoring by now. That sign's negative. I'm going to have different signs. I need to have my middle one have a difference of 4. So I need two things and multiply to give me 12, but have a difference of 4. That when I subtract them, they're 4. I need the larger of the numbers to be negative. So I can get this negative here. So I'll put the 6 here and the 2 here. X plus 2 equals 0. Remember, when you start out with different signs for the factors, you can end up with different signs in your answer. Two x squared plus 4x equals 30. I'm going to bring the 30 over. And set it equal to 0. Okay, this, I can take a 2 out of the whole thing and leave me with x squared plus 2x minus 15, which will be easier to factor because my leading coefficient is this invisible 1. Okay. So I'm factoring x squared plus 2x minus 15. I don't care about this 2 because he doesn't have an x next to him. It's not like I'm going to be 2 times I don't know what equals 0. He's not even a factor. He's just in my way. X factor. Okay. So x times x. The second sign is negative, which means I'm going to have different signs, plus or minus. My first sign is positive, which means I need the larger one, the difference of them, to be positive 2. So for 15, I have 15 times 2, no, sorry, 15 times 1, 3 times 5. The difference is 2, and I need the difference to be a positive 2. So my larger number has to be positive. So I put the 5 by the plus, the 3 by the minus, and then I check my middles just in case. Minus 3x. I'm going to set my factors equal to 0. X plus 5 equals 0. And x minus 3 equals 0. What about if you don't have like a middle term and you just have like 3, 3x squared equals 48. And I don't have that x thing, then I can try to get all my variables on one side and all my numbers on the other side. So I divide by 3, and x squared equals 16. And then you know how when you have x plus 4 equals 17, that you'll do the opposite of whatever this is to get the x by itself? Well, what's the opposite of squaring? Oh, yes, you in the back. It's square rooting. So I'll do the square root of this and the square root of this. The square root of x squared is just x times x. So the x comes out because I have a pair of these. So my x is now free, single, and ready to mingle. And the square root of 16, because you memorized them so long ago, 4 times 4 is 16, so x is 4. But what about that? Remember I told you have 2 answers for x? And you do. X is either -4 or x is +4. Some people write it like this: x is plus or minus 4. All these ways are correct. Number 1, 2x squared equals 12. I want to get the x by itself, so I'm going to try to get rid of everyone next to the x. Everyone's in my way. X squared equals 6. Okay. No judgment. Square root of x squared, square root of 6 is the square root of x times x. The x is now out, free. This is what it comes home to, plus or minus square root of 6. Nothing I can do with that. I don't have a same number to multiply by itself to give me 6. So this is the answer. Six x squared equals 18. I want to get the x by itself. I'll divide by 6, both sides. X squared equals 3. Take the square root of both sides. X comes out and it's free. And that leaves you with 2 answers: plus square root of 3 minus square root of 3. 4x squared minus 5 equals 0. I want to get the x squared by himself. So I'll move away the 5. For x squared equals 5. Yeah. Divide 4, both sides. X squared equals 5 over 4. I'm going to square root both sides, even though he's a fraction. And remember that rule that said if the square root of a fraction equals the square root of the top floor and the square root of the bottom floor. X is out, there's 2 of him. Square root of 5 is nothing I can do with that. Square root of 4 is 2, because 2 times 2 is 4. I have x equals the square root of 5 over 2, or x equals negative the square root of 5 over 2. Must put both answers. Nine x squared minus 4 equals 0. I'm going to try to factor this one because it's factorable easily. It is, hopefully you remember this, the difference of squares, of a perfect square and a perfect square. So that factors to a minus and a plus. That doesn't give me a middle term. Perfect square of 4 is 2. Perfect square of 9x squared is 3x. Is 3x times 3x is 9x squared. Now I can set each of them equal to 0. One. And set the other one equal to 0. X equals minus 2 over 3. And if you wanted to use a new way that we just learned to do 9x squared minus 4 equals 0, you get the x by itself. Divide away the 9. Left with x squared equals 4 over 9. And the square root of both sides. And the root of this is the same as the square root of 4 over the square root of 9. My x comes out because I have a pair of them. Square root of 4 is 2 times 2. Square root of 9 is 3 times 3. And I'm going to have 2 answers because of this. this. So I have x is 2/3 or x is negative 2/3. Which is what I got up here. This is kind of fast. It's kind of fast. I guess I try to not factor, like avoid factoring at all costs. Yes.